All right, so let me talk some Marvel stuff for a bit, right? So
Sure.
we'll kick things off with Loki, the
Mhm.
second and final question mark season.
Asterisk?
Yeah.
Yeah, asterisks, yes. And we will talk about the Marvels. So yes, this is gonna be a double feature, if you will. We call it that for now, right? So, and of course, we will get into some spoiler territory, right? So, we will have a spoiler warning near the end of the respective reviews, and then we'll just give our final opinions
Sure.
from that point on, right? Well, we'll kick things off with Loki, right? So, Ricardo, I would love for you to do the synopsis of this season here, right? But I'll kick
Right.
things off here, right? We covered the first three episodes, right?
Right.
Well, myself, you and Tracy as well, right? And yeah, we enjoyed it. So we were enjoying it so far, right? For me, I just love the fact that it was exactly how the last season was. It was the same sort of tone, same style, and everything like that. Same existential crisis when it came to our favorite anti-hero, Loki, and what he was dealing with and all that too. Um, and it was just built around this whole threat of the secret timeline and its destruction, and the other timelines, the branch timelines and their respective destruction, right? But also to where Kang, or I should say He Who Remains, or Victor Timely, how they're gonna fit in all this madness, right? So it was like that, right? But yeah, we were let down in the fact that critics got to see the first five episodes, right? While everybody else had to kind of watch this thing weekly, right? For me, I was just able to just watch the first three like in one go and give myself like a couple of weeks and then just more or less just run through the last three, right? So that was really cool to do, right? But the point again that is that now it just sort of gave us the opportunity to sort of just see the story play out from start to end, right? But how did it play out? We'll get to that in a bit, right? So, Ricardo, take it away. What was season two of Loki about?
Right. So yeah, the season two was just picking up from the events of Sylvie killing off the
He
Hero
remains.
Remains.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's all the multiverse shit that happening, and they say, yeah, look, all my counterparts gonna show up, and they're gonna have a big war, and they're gonna kill and blow up everything. And so Loki now have to like clean up that mess and sort out the situation involving, uh, looking for Rona Renslayer and the fallout of the TVA itself. But what happened is that Loki, because of this, he's suffering from something called time slipping, where he bouncing off, not only bouncing through time, but like I don't know what to call this, meta time, because it's time in time. He moving through time for time, and not even them, not even the TVA is aware of what's going on in that sense. So he causing all these causality loops and stuff involving that. Now. And we call him short wrong himself.
Tweet.
Called Ouroboros.
Ouroboros,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, Ouroboros. We get another time loop involving the who wrote the book about the TVA, because it's two authors back and forth, and you learn who the second person is,
Mhm.
and then we meet that second person, Victor Timely, a variant of Kang, or He Who Remains, who's operating in what year it was, 1850s I think, or something like that. Or the
During the World's Fair.
1860s. 1860s, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, in the United States, where it was, Detroit, I forget it was exactly.
Chicago.
Chicago, yeah.
Chicago, thank you. Right, yeah,
Because
the
they up at the
World's
World's
Fair.
Fair. Yeah.
World's Fair, yeah, right. And then, so they get into a whole situation where they have to get him to look for something, and Renslayer and what's her name, Miss Minutes, had their own agenda involving that. And well, Miss Minutes is our dong bad robot, dong bad,
Yeah, boy.
dong bad. And so she wanted to deal with Kang in that way. There's a chilling moment with her when she was shutting down. Actually, you'll never be him.
Yes.
That was pretty badass. So like, goddamn. So whoa, that escalated. But yeah, they sort that out. But basically, where it goes, it forces Loki to sort the problem out in his own way. And the end of episode 4 caught me off guard of what was going on there, because something happens, and I was like, oh, so now he's gonna get rid of the actor, probably. And then episode 5 and 6. They bring it back in our own way, but they do Loki's narrative, and they make it. This is the main thing about the show. They make it about Loki.
Yes.
And then when the final episode, we had to get to spoiler territory for that. I thought it was kind of brilliant.
Me
It
too.
was kind of brilliant.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought like just from forget the story itself, just from a visual, like how it was edited and cut together.
Yes.
It felt very grand and mythical and mystical and it just everything about Loki's arc makes sense. And then Loki's last line to the girl is the last line he tells to the dad, right? Like, oh shit,
Yes,
is it
boy.
from Thor 1?
Somebody
And
did a
what?
side by side of that as well, and it was like, oh my
Right.
god, that
And I was
was
like, oh shit, like they did such a great job of this thing. And then, I'm not too sure what's going on with the narrative exactly. Because they say, okay, so when we get to that, I want to just mention something because it is still unclear to me what's happening there, who that is they're talking about exactly. But the ending is
Oh, I
great.
know you're talking
And
about.
the ending, I thought the ending was great. And yeah, Loki's like one of the few shows that actually like pulling it off. That like I don't know, get the Loki people to work for everything else, right?
I know,
And
right?
so I gotta make the joke now. Yeah, Loki literally holding up the MCU now.
Yes.
He literally holding up the MCU now. But yeah, I just thought this was kind of brilliant. And what it did with the ending, with there's a final conversation, I thought was brilliant, and I knew that was coming. And like I feel this is a trap, And then when they reveal that moment, it's like, all right, this is real hard. And then when they went with it, it's like, oh, that real hard too. And yeah, I kind of really love the season. It started off normal, it's going good, but that finale is truly fantastic. But yeah, you give me a run there.
All right. Well, dude, I agree with you, man. It start off normal. Those first three episodes
Yeah.
start off normal and whatnot, right? But after how 4 and 5 and 6 were just amazing, boy. Just
Yeah.
like I don't want to say edgy seat though, but it just roped me in
It's
from
very
my
Doctor Who,
emotion. Yes, yeah, well, yeah. Which is something that Tracy brought up with our review of the first three episodes, right? But yeah, though, it just kept me on the edge of my seat, though, just from an emotional perspective, right? One thing that I really just love about this season here, right? And you give a general thought of the show itself, right? Because I still think that this could be the end, right? But we'll talk about that in the spoiler moment, right? It's just how it's stuck to that whole theme of the apocalypse, right? So it's not just about this existential crisis, but yeah, about the apocalypse, right? Just about the end of the world and just how these characters are going to deal with it, right? You saw how Sylvie pretty much was kind of running away from it and kind of finding herself in the middle of an apocalypse everywhere she goes, in a sense, right? But that's Loki now, and I really love how it kind of ties back to what his main purpose was, or glorious purpose, if you will, was from the
Glorious
beginning,
purpose,
right?
yeah,
I just want to rule. I want to be king. I want to, lead and all that kind of stuff, right? But just never getting that opportunity, right? And see how that plays out in the end, right? But yeah, though, I just love how this season, right, just sort of stuck to its guns. It just stuck to this whole dark, existential, apocalyptic stuff, right? So for those, Tracy and I spoke about this off here. For those who love to say, yeah, these Marvel shows are just so generic, and why we should care. This one kind of stands on its own, though. It's its own thing, right? And yet it fits with everything else that came before and hopefully comes after.
It follows up. Well, the thing is, when we talk about the other movie, there's something that follows up reasonably well, and I think it ties up quite well because, again, somebody will have to explain who exactly they were talking about at the end. That's all I'll say.
Right.
If it is who I think you're talking about, isn't that the thing that happened at the beginning of this year with the other people? Is it not them that they're referring to?
No. All right.
That's what I think you're talking about.
When we get to spoilers, right? Right.
I'll know exactly. I'll tell you exactly what I'm talking about.
All right, so I'll just wrap up my spoiler-free thoughts here, right? But yeah, though, I just love that the show know what it is. It's stuck to it. It's not like what like the reason why I bring all this up, right? Even with all the drama with Jonathan Majors behind the scene, and the fans not knowing what's going on with Marvel, it's like, yeah, Marvel, what all they doing? We don't understand.
Right.
The creators of Loki is like, look, listen, just stick with us.
Keep your head down.
Stick with
Keep
us.
your head down, yeah.
We know what we're doing. Trust us. We know. It might seem weird, it might seem a little dour, but trust us, we know what it is we're doing, right? And that's where it leads to the last two episodes. That's when you see everything kind of plays out, especially in the finale. That's when it's like, oh, that's what it's about. In case y'all didn't realize back then, right? Acting, I mean, everybody come through, do their thing. Tom Hiddleston is and forever will be Loki, in my opinion.
No, here's the thing. He was always the kind of in my humble opinion, he was kind of one of the hidden talents of the MCU, in my opinion. And so him getting his own show, it's like he's just a side villain, that kind of jokey and whatever it is. for him to get his own show, and then what they do with him at the ending, they're like, well, all right,
Yeah,
they really like tying his talents into that now.
exactly. Yeah,
So
yeah,
it was
yeah.
truly fantastic in that final episode, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Especially, especially there's a
It was
moment,
brilliant. It was
there's a
quite
moment
brilliant.
with him, and there's a moment with the conversation, a big conversation happens, and I was like, boy, talk about nailing it here, boy.
yes, boy,
But he
yes.
got them boxing up nice now, like,
Yeah,
going on there, man,
but
nice.
yeah, but you're right though. I mean, Tom Hiddleston just on his own though is just such a
Yeah,
fantastic actor though. I do
yeah,
hope that going forward, in question marks. But yeah, in general,
right,
going forward, give this man more rules, please. Like just outside of Marvel Studios, just give him more rules. Because this man is a great actor, Jay. You know what I mean? It's not just hey, I'm Loki and I'm snarky. Yeah, no, like the man shows like genuine emotion. That's right. Not saying that he tears up and shouts at screams at the clouds and all that kind of stuff. But no, he shows genuine emotion, right? And it works with the character as well, right? Because yeah, at first he's very skeptical. He doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't trust people. But throughout this season, and I would say yeah, throughout the series here, yeah, you really see him kind of open up to these characters, right? Whether it's Hunter B15, played by McGill,
right,
Wonmi Mosaku, she's great.
yeah,
But also oh gosh, Owen Wilson, as Mobius, right? What they do with
Wow.
him in particular, I thought was great though. Like in particular, right? This minor spoiler. They do a thing with him and the whole speedboat thing. That sorry, not speedboats.
right.
What do you call it, boy? What's
Wave,
that?
wave riders. I forget it.
Jet
Yeah, I know it.
skis. No,
Jet
Jet
skis,
skis.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like how they play on the whole jet ski thing. That was kind of a joke back in the first season, but I like how they play that out in this season here, right?
Right.
I mentioned in my last review, the inclusion of Rafael Casal, what I mean, from Blind Spotting, get to that MCU
Right.
money, you do your thing. What they do with him, I thought that was really cool as well. How they continued the story arc with Renslayer was really cool as well. What they
Yeah.
did with Miss Minutes though, catch everybody by surprise. So that episode
Yeah.
3
Oh, that was
is what a lot of
amazing.
people will be talking about. Like, wow, but like I didn't know it was like that, Miss Minutes. But just like what
Yeah,
you
that's
say,
brilliant.
Ricardo, I believe it's in episode 5, right, where she does that last line, if you will, right. But what I
Right.
really love in that moment though is like just the animation though, and how she how she what's the term I'm using, by how she regresses. I thought that was
Right.
that
Right.
was
Right.
just well
Mm.
done, well executed, I must say, right? And yeah, I mean everybody else, do their thing, and of course, well, we have to mention Ki Hui Kwan who plays Ouroboros. I
Yes.
like how quirky and weird he is, and we need to fix the Lumen, the Lumen, blah blah blah,
Right.
right?
We're
But
all gonna
Right.
die.
we're all gonna die, right? And all that kind of stuff, right? I especially love what they do with his character in episode 5. Matter of fact, I love what they do with the characters in episode 5, right? Where you'll talk about that in
Right.
the spoilers, right? And yeah, I had to mention Jonathan Majors. Yes, he is really
Good.
fantastic. Although
And no, check this thing.
I
Yeah,
more prefer him.
I'm gonna straight up say it. Yeah, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna
Uh,
say this is an incredibly unpopular opinion. Even if Jonathan Majors, I was gonna say it. Well, we're gonna get into spoilers just now. But even if Jonathan Majors sticking around, let's say Marvel keeping around, whatever, they should still get rid of Kang because I never like Kang. I don't like Kang as a character.
Listen,
But
Yeah.
Kang had a moment. He had a moment to
but
shine
but
in
what is
Quantumania,
The-
but
and yes, Marvel fans, yes, Marvel. I know Avengers EMH use Kang well, but I never like Kang as a character. They need to move on from this. I never like him.
okay.
But
You see,
what they do
if
here, that last
Mhm.
reveal with him, I like. Alright, that real hard though. That was
Yes.
real hard.
Yes.
That last reveal, I like, okay, in the back of my head, I know that was gonna happen though. And but how they deliver it? How did they time it now? I like, oh, that is good. That is good timing. That is just good blocking, Judd. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Tracy, you were saying?
no, I was just gonna say. I mean, if you believe the how things go over at Marvel Studios, the story was that they were moving forward and they weren't exactly going to make Kang the centerpiece for the
Right.
next stage or the next phase. And then after his performance, because I mean, this is all marketing, so they say these
Right.
things.
Right.
But after his performance in season 1, they decide, okay, you know what, it's going to be Kang Dynasty. So
Right.
if now, I mean, there's all the talk about like maybe bringing in Doctor Doom. There's all these rumors because
Right.
nothing is set in stone. If he was to move on, for my money, it's not that I would necessarily want Kang to go away because I still want Kang to come and do things. But I would love for them to, if it comes down to where he's concerned, I want them to do that Doctor Who regeneration thing, and you
Right.
can bring in anybody. You can even bring in like one of the characters that I was thinking about was Janelle, not Mooney, the principal for Abbott Elementary,
No, no.
Janelle James.
Here's the thing.
You know, like
You could have Renslayer herself be a Kang variant, because she's still there.
somebody
And
online was talking about it,
yeah,
especially
that's a
after what
possibility.
happens at the end. You could just
Yeah,
say,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
she
Because
just turned out
that
to
that
be
what happened to her kind of unclear. It's like, wait, Aliat going to eat her? What's going on here? Like, why they still reference her now?
exactly.
And
You
the
know,
show, what they imply is that, well, the old TVA happening, because we already talk. Well, again, we're going into spoilers, but something about the TVA, it was implied about that now, so we could get it to. I don't know. We'll get it into Marvel. So whatever. Let us sort
Yeah.
it out and then
right,
spoilers. Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
last thing before we get to Tracy's spoiler free, and then we get to the spoilers, right? Yeah, and especially what they did. Well, all right. Well, what I was wrapping up, they were Jonathan Majors. I am still more of a He Who Remains fan more than a Victor
Right.
Timely. Like, I'd still find Victor Timely just be like, okay, well, I'm just gonna talk
No, but
like this,
that line was funny too, where you reference him. That was
Yeah,
funny.
yeah.
Yeah, like,
Right,
he
right.
was
When he
talking
kind of
about that,
mimics him too, right? Yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
funny.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, he
yeah.
does the whole I have to talk like this, because I'm I'm smart. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right.
After a
Yeah.
while, it's like, all right,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
we
yeah.
get right, but it works. Where it works for me though is where they pay him with Renslayer. I think that's
Yeah.
where without that way because yeah he's awkward. That's where it works, right? And it gets even worse now. Just not really a spoiler, but we mentioned earlier, yeah, where he runs into when he runs into Miss Minutes, and they have that moment in episode 3,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, that's when you really see the comparison, right? And yeah, boy, like I was just surprised the way they took the characters, boy. But yeah, the final episode happened, boy. I was just like, wow, boy. I just
Yeah.
said, like jaw hit the floor. I can't believe they were going there, right? To the point where, and I'll stop here. I think that this could be the end of the series. And for me personally,
Right.
even if
No,
if it is
it
the
could
end,
work. Yeah.
I have no problem
Hmm.
with that. I think that is a
Me
fantastic
too.
conclusion. If they
Me too.
continue it
Yeah.
though, I don't know. Like, I personally I don't think it's worth continuing now because
Well,
how I see it,
no,
like
Well, there's a caveat.
all right,
here's the problem. It can't.
one sec. What I mean is, right, like, just look at just the output we've gotten so far as Marvel TV shows go, right? They're usually called mini series, right? And I think Loki is the only one that only had that had more than one season. So you could kind
Right.
of say, okay, well, right, that's done, and then we could bring in another show, like say Echo or something else, right?
Right.
But if there is the need to, we can continue on with Loki. But let me just give him probably one or two more seasons, so we don't run the character to the ground, right?
Well, here's the
That's
thing,
my opinion on it.
Given the nature of the ending, they could do a lot with that. So it doesn't
Uh,
have to be given the nature of the ending and what they did there. They could do a lot with that, because what
true, true.
I know from the comic, what is happening there. There's a big thing in the comic. So it's like, oh shit, they're doing this. And so that opens up a lot of interesting like conceits, especially if where I think they might be going, which is Secret Wars. And they could do some interesting stuff
Okay,
there.
okay,
Mhm.
okay.
I'm not
I
sure.
would love if
We'll
we could
find
bring
out.
that up in the spoiler section. Okay, yeah, I am
Right,
not familiar with that, so I would love to hear
right,
what that is, right? But yeah,
right.
before we get into spoilers now, 'cause I know the people who saw it probably itching to hear our thoughts, what happened, spoiler wise. Yeah, Tracy, your quick spoiler free thoughts on the season in particular the finale.
I just have, well, for me, I have like two main things. Y'all know at the end of the day, WandaVision still remained
Yeah,
my top tier. So at the
It's
end of
mine too.
Loki
It's mine
season
too.
one,
yeah.
you know,
WandaVision still up there for me. Yeah,
herein lies the thing for me. So like at the end of season one of Loki, it was like, okay, Loki's is second, WandaVision still remains top. And I sat down for as after Thursday into the weekend, and I was thinking about it a little bit more. And I feel like with the culmination of this story, and I'm going to say the culmination of this story, I feel like Loki has now become number one, and
wow,
something has finally
Wow.
come across.
nice, nice.
And this is somebody who rewatches WandaVision like every little while, like a dope fiend. But like something has finally come across that has eclipsed Wanda's number one position. So
Yeah,
that is saying a lot. Um, without going into spoilers or anything like that, there's a line. There was something that was said to him at the beginning when he was on trial. There was something that was said to him when in season one, where when Sif found him in that personal hell. There were certain things that were said between him and Sylvie that when I saw it wrapped up in the finale, I was like, it's true, it's real, but it's how they managed to put it across that was delicious for me. So I was like, yes. And even in terms of Natalie Holt's score, her
Yep.
soundtrack,
Yes.
even
Fantastic.
in the
So
triumphantness of it,
that
still
piece,
had-
there's a piece where he said the last line, and he
Mhm.
the last line to Sylvia and walk off. Now I was like, this music though, because and then when he went to see a certain outfit shop, I think like, what music and score,
Yeah,
boy,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Go ahead.
I-
Yeah, sorry.
I will tell you something that I have up on Twitter. I'm going to read it for you word for word because this is my fear coming out of Loki, and it's this. It says, and now we enter that period of existence where everybody will be like, "Oh, Loki was perfect. Why can't all the Marvel shows be like Loki? Kind of like Andor was perfect.
Right,
Why
for
don't
real,
we do
For
Star
real.
Wars, all
For
Star Wars
real.
shows?" And I want
That's true.
like
Yeah.
I don't need every Star Wars show to be okay. This was what Andor was, and therefore I need that to be. I need the quality that Loki presented, but I don't need Loki as like this is how all Marvel shows should be moving forward. That said, I will also say, um, if this is the end of the series, I am like you guys. I'm 100% down for it. It's kind of like for me, like the end of Watchmen,
Right.
the HBO Watchmen.
Yeah. Right.
Like if they were to come 10 years later and have sister, Regina's son, taking up the mantle or something along those lines. Okay, fine. But at the same point in time, the story ended right there with her foot almost touching the water, and I was like, "That's it. We
Yeah.
don't need anything else." I don't know if I necessarily need anything new out of Loki. I just hope, and this is my one hope, is that because of how good the story was, that whoever comes up with Secret Wars or whoever does Thor 5 or anything of the sort, and they decide that they want to bring Loki in, that they do like Nia DaCosta, who sat
Right.
down and watched all of Miss Marvel and go
Right.
back and watch all of Loki. So that way they don't just do and I'm sorry, I genuinely liked WandaVision in the multiverse, but the writer for that, Michael, I think it was, or Michael Waldron, the writer for that never sat down and really and truly watched WandaVision.
Right.
So he just came up with the storyline saying, well, Wanda was going to be a villain anyway later on, so let's just make her villain now. If you're going to use Loki anytime later on in the MCU, please, whoever the writers or directors are, whatever project you're working on, please let it be that Loki, that you go and do your research and sit down and watch the 2 seasons of Loki so that you can see where he ended up and how you can adapt him if he needs to be adapted in, whatever story you want to pull. So that for me, and all of that summarizes my entire view of, oh my God, this season 2 was just absolutely beautiful and melancholic and joy and
Yep.
sad and triumphant. And yes, that whole similarity between what he said to his father on the Rainbow Bridge and what he said
Yeah.
at the end of the series, that is really something. And I very much look forward to see what could happen next. But at the same point in time, I also very much want fans to understand whatever's coming up next with Marvel Spotlight series, or whatever's coming up next with, I don't know, the Wiccan series and or Agatha Coven of Chaos and all that kind of stuff, does not need to be Loki at all. And that's it for me in terms of non-spoilery things.
Right. So now for spoiler territory, you've been warned. Right? Yeah.
Right. Right. So was the name of the big Nostri?
Idrisil,
Idrisil, yeah.
yeah,
Yggdrasil. So yeah, he
Idrisil, yeah. Why
Yggdrasil, yeah, like holy
Idrisil,
shit.
Idrisil.
He basically reformed Kang's whole structure,
Yeah,
no? And he kind of
yeah.
proved the point. So the whole point was just not so much of proving Kang wrong because he had to do it, but he didn't need to kill Sophie the Edit, right? And I was like, alright, cool.
That's true.
Change
Yeah.
the
But
equation and
what is
do
implied
this.
is implied that the TV is multiple TVs being destroyed, layers down now. Because he say that you can build back TV in no sweat. So it's implied he do not only have multiple timelines, multiple TVAs going down now. And we saw the TVA in when what's her name? When Renslayer, we saw the
Mhm.
symbol now. Like, oh shit,
Yeah.
so she's a
Yeah,
full
they
tech TVA.
always oh gosh,
Right.
I forgot the
For
motto.
all
So,
time,
for all
always.
time,
All time
always,
always,
yes.
yeah. And yeah, so we see a dead thing. And then you know, when they mentioned, here what they said, he who remains, they grab him in Earth 616, a version of him. They say they grab him. So
Right.
here's my
Yeah,
question. Here's my question. Are they talking about Kang or are they talking about Loki? Is
that's
that
what I was
Loki?
wondering. For some weird reason, I was thinking quantum mean. For some odd reason, because they kept talking
Right.
This is
about
where I was,
we
because they talk
looking
about
for the variants of
616 and Jason.
he
Right.
remains,
But
so I thought that was
that's
a
your
reference
point
to that
now.
movie.
That's your point. Because the end of Endgame was a 616 adjacent timeline. That's what it
Mm-hmm.
was.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
were they talking about the Loki from that they grab, and that's like, so it comes back full circle with him? Because we've
Like
seen
a loop.
multiple time loopy stuff with his own life now,
That's
and his own
true. Yeah,
causality.
yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So is it that he sort out that himself,
Oh.
or are they talking about Kang variants that's still hanging about? Because the Kang variants could still be out there. Not sure,
Yes.
right? I don't know where they're going with that. Well, when we get to Captain Marvel, that addresses another problem. But
Well, the
again,
Marvels, right?
it's not
Yeah.
the Marvel, sorry, yeah. That's another issue involving, well, if it connected to that as well. Because, well, it have a big, the big post credit, well, the mid credit scene in that kind of was hype, and a little bit, a little hype. I still have Marvel chill, right? So I want to see how they're gonna connect that in its
Oh
own way now.
wow.
Yeah. So I still want to see how they're gonna connect that in their own way now. But I just thought that ending with just him, the Yggdrasil thing was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Like, he restructured it in his own image, and he kind of stuck there indefinitely. I
Yeah,
like,
and
bro,
it's
like,
it's
that's real
so
good,
it's so
though.
amazing, but also so sad at the same time.
Yeah,
Especially
because he
just that
played.
final shot, and oh my god, like when I see
Yeah,
that, I was like, because really, I mean, the implication is obvious. It's like, yeah, he got what he wanted. He wanted a throne,
right.
he wanted a rule, but
Yeah,
like now he has to stay
yeah.
here and hold
And he
these
do it,
branches, right, like
and
eternally, though.
he do it at the price. He do it at the price of the whole friends thing now. Come on, he said the
Yeah,
reason why he do it is because he
You
make
wanted
friends
to,
now.
but then this sort of brings back to, well, now that we're in spoiler territory, when he and Sylvie were sitting down in episode 3, season 1, where she
Right.
says to him, "Do you think that a purpose of a Loki is to be alone?" And then you go back to episode 1 where he's on trial, and
Mhm.
Right.
Renslayer says, "The Avengers were supposed to do what they did. Your life is really." And I think Mobius also said that to him. Your life is designed to help other people win. You're supposed to
yes,
lose so that
Right.
other people wins. And then Sif comes and says to him, "You are alone, and you always will be." So
Right.
at the end, when he, takes all these branches and takes upon this throne, this burden, which is less glorious than it is, a purpose. He takes all of this. He becomes alone. He does lose, but he loses at the price of making sure that the people who he cares about lives.
Yeah.
And I thought that was beautiful. And I also I'm throwing this out here. I'm wondering if he's now a type of Heimdall, and that Heimdall sees all.
uh-huh.
Now,
That is why I think he could still be relevant now,
Mhm.
going forward,
Right.
because it's like, well, he
Right.
could not only he could be a Heimdall, but he could pop up anywhere now, any universe,
Yes.
any story. Like, he's that effectively he's the most powerful entity in all of MCU. Well, all of fiction, metafiction kind of situation now, and that's a comic thing. That's a big comic thing where he's like the god of stories now, and like, he's actually the god of stories, so he actually holding up the
Mhm.
MCU literally though.
Yeah,
Like, well, no,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
I just want to touch on this
somebody,
quickly though. I just love how they just emphasize that whole time slipping thing in the first place.
right,
The finale in particular though. By the way, perfect choice of music. Okay, so I'm not versed in the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack, but you know that one song, where they take that orchestral
Mhm.
piece and they make it into
Mhm.
a disco song, the da 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 da, you know what I mean? Using that
is it
when
Beethoven's Fifth? Is it?
I forgot the name of it, but I think it's a Beethoven song if I'm not mistaken. Either that or Mozart, right? But yeah, using that in the back, using that as the soundtrack while you're seeing oh gosh, well basically Loki trying
Number
to get
5.
Victor, to go and fix the thing. By the way, that whole spaghettify effect though, creepy
Pretty bad.
AF, but I
Yeah,
love
Yeah,
it.
it's
yeah,
pretty.
yeah.
I have a
But
feeling,
it just as creepy as when Thanos snapping you know. Like you
yes,
make it
boy.
work with different ways their own thing now.
I would not be surprised if later on, probably by years end, somebody come out with an After Effects tutorial and show you how to do
Of course.
that exact effect, right? But that look really, really dope, right? But yeah, just
Yeah.
how he was doing that was really cool. Even better was in the final episode now where you see Loki trying to stop Sylvie from killing He Remains now. I just see him trying it over and over and over. I just love how to wrap up here, how He Remains coming like, what, you didn't think I didn't know that you were doing all
Yeah,
this? Like,
Judge.
yeah, I know
Yeah,
this. I know you trying
yeah,
to
boy.
fix this, and I just watched you and just
Yeah,
laughing. I love that.
yeah. That I find that was a real cool moment. Where he's like, yeah, he know what's going to happen now. Because in a sense, from since season one now, he addressed the problem now. He's like, yeah, you can't just kill me and just leave it there. So you have to fix this. Sorry, like he stick them now in their own way now. But the
Yes.
only difference is that Loki do it in the own way, not taking over from the way he take over or how he run it now. That I thought that was a great reveal, and that conversation was good. Two of them was good, top tier acting, boxing off each other. I enjoyed that.
The thing is, with that conversation, it sort of left me wondering um, if he might have, when he talked about the idea of reincarnation, both in season one and then, of course, in this finale, if he would have sort of time slipped out of this body the same way how Loki was doing through the different episodes and gone to another version of himself, and that is how his his mind of He Who Remains survives. Like at
Yeah,
one point in time, I thought what's this word? Timely. I thought Victor Timely was going to do a Kaiser Soze on them,
that's what I
come
thought.
out at the last minute and
No,
sort of
I was
laugh
saying
and be like, you know,
I was saying that I thought it was he was pretending to be Victor Timely, or
yeah,
it was always
yeah,
him, or that he knew that his variant would be like to set up. He set up things for the variant to come into that situation to get Loki back to that point,
hmm,
knowing full well that that's the only option to get back to that point and have the conversation. Because what he
right.
just say, because Timely get the answer wrong. He's like, because that's a funny moment where he do the stuttering there. But he make the point of, no, Timely don't have the answer. I have the answer. It was always
Yes.
supposed to work out this way. They solve it. He solved it a long
That's
time
it.
ago. But
Mm.
not the answer Loki won because he had to kill Sylvie there. And yeah, they make it Sophie, sorry. But they make it work.
Yeah, one other point I want to mention too, right? Just going back to episode 5, right? I love just the idea of just seeing the side characters in their own realities, and
Oh boy.
it could have been for like a nice. Oh gosh, I forgot the name of the show itself, right? But like basically, like that moment I described with Loki trying to help Victor with the plan kind of reminds me of Edge of Tomorrow, right? But like in particular that episode 5, now I
Mm.
forgot what show it was, but that's the idea that okay, these people don't know who I am, but we all part of this plan. We all need to stop this big thing from happening. So I have to try to get them to believe me, and I have to get the band together,
Mhm.
even though they don't know who I am. That kind of stuff. I know I saw it before in another film, right? Um, but in particular, I love what they did with Mobius, right? And like in this reality that we see him in episode 5, he's the father of like two kids, right? And he's selling jet skis and other stuff like that, right? But I love like in the final episode where he shows back up in that time and Sylvie's there, right? And Sylvie's like, I'm just paraphrasing here, right? It's basically saying, yeah, well, you're gonna stay here for a while. Well, how long are you gonna stay there, right? And like Mobius is pretty much saying you just stick around for a while, right? Like kind of implying that he
Mhm.
might stick around for a
Let time
long period of
pass.
time. You're right. Let time pass, right? Somebody brought it up though. Just the shot composition where it zooms in on him on Mobius's face and like he's unsure of
Mhm.
where he's gonna go, and it's very similar to like that close up that they do of Loki in that final shot of the episode itself, right? But as far as
Right.
Mobius goes, though, like I just like that, because throughout it he was really thinking about this whole pruning thing and the consequences. It's like here he is now, where he's seeing a variant of himself having the life that clearly he wanted, right? But because he was just so deep into TV stuff, it's just like he never really thought about what he wanted to do. And I just love that it was set up earlier on with the whole jet ski stuff in the first place, right? So the question is, where is he gonna go now, right? So it's not like he gonna like knock out that variant and take the that
Wonder.
variant thing, or pull a wonder, or do like Looper or some kind of thing like that. No, no,
Right.
like he has to find his own way there. But the question is where he's gonna go, right? I just love that, in particular with him, right? And by the way, this great emotional moment with him saying farewell to Hunter B-15, I thought that was great as well.
Right.
Mhm.
I forgot the last bit of dialogue where I think like one of them sees something, it's like, what? And you say nothing. I have to rewatch that scene, but
Right.
it's basically something that remained unsaid though. Like I need to rewatch
Yeah.
that, but I thought that was like
I
a great
felt-
moment.
I felt they could have done more with her because there was a lot of just her reacting and her face all forlorn,
Mhm.
reacting.
True,
But
true,
whatever.
true, yeah.
They just show us what she was, a nurse or a doctor.
Yeah, she was a
That was-
She
doctor.
was a
Yeah.
doctor.
Yeah,
Yeah, and apparently during the events of Avengers, because she was in New York during Avengers.
2012.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
2012. Yeah, yeah. Also,
I thought that was coming in reference, like she would have probably seen Loki back then or something like that. That Loki, the bad one who was blowing up New York.
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, also,
but I
thought-
also,
in my mind-
also, last point I just want to bring on episode 5, right? Love what they did with Ouroboros too. Him being this
Yeah.
washed up sci-fi writer.
Right, yeah.
Like the bit
Yeah.
with the
Really,
with
this
the
once
bit
again.
the bit that he did, like they try to get his books pretty much
Sold, yeah.
sold.
Yeah,
It was a bookstore or was a library? I saw it was a library at first.
I think it's a bookstore.
Yeah, with the bookstore
I
thing,
think
that was hilarious to me, right? But yeah, how he worked into his story was great. I love how he was how he had to take time to figure out stuff, like how he was be able to build the time door. That was really cool as well. Also, by the way, right, just switching just moving to the final episode again, right? Mad points thread for when basically Loki was told that he needed decades or centuries to figure out how a certain thing worked.
That was funny.
And they literally
Yeah.
say centuries later.
Yeah.
I clap at that. I clap at that.
Yeah.
That is genius writing. Yeah. Just for them to be like, yes, it's a joke, but it makes sense.
It's
I
the
love that.
subtlety of it. Yeah. Or the simplicity, rather.
Yeah, but yeah, go on.
No, I was just referencing in terms of the simplicity of that, but I think my heights for me was the idea of, because I was today years old when I found out that Casey's character of Frank was a real life guy. There's a
prisoner.
real story, myth,
Yeah.
legend,
Oh,
whatever.
okay.
Of
A prisoner. It's,
three guys, yeah.
Because
yeah,
I was
Alcatraz,
kind of wondering
Alcatraz.
what it was Alcatraz, yeah, in 1962,
And
right?
nobody knew.
Well,
what it
Yeah,
was
I
about.
was
They
kind of
don't-
wondering why we because I understand it's different periods,
It's
time
kind of
periods,
like
right?
the DB
But I just
Cooper.
find out the
Yeah,
way
the
that
DB
it was
Cooper thing,
centered
yes.
on
Yes.
escape prisoners, and I'm like, what going on here? What? But I
Yeah,
like that it added to
it's
the
DB Cooper,
confusion
yeah.
that Loki was feeling,
Yeah.
right, at that moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even know that was a real thing, and then I found out. Oh wait, no, there were a bunch of prisoners three prisoners, a Frank dude, who apparently just escaped, and nobody knows what happened. Did they die in the water?
Right,
Did they just
right.
disappear? So the idea that it was Loki who sort of just pulled them out, kind of again playing back to that, and then it was in that same episode. I feel like maybe it was unintentional, but that whole bit where Obi shocks Loki, he buzzes him. It sort of reminds me of when Tony in the first Avengers, he's talking to Bruce, and he just takes his little prod, his little pin
Right.
prod or whatever.
Or
And
to
shocks
see if
them,
he will
to see
turn. Yeah, I remember that.
That is what causes him to turn. So I was like, oh, that's a nice callback. I don't know if that was intentional, but that was a nice callback.
Right.
So little
Well,
things like that for me was like,
right. Well, there's just two more things actually, and then we could wrap up, right? So let me just touch on Sylvie for a bit, right? So what they did with her in episode 5, though. Again, I know I keep going back to episode 5, but sorry, I love episode 5. I love episode 6 even more, right? What they did with her going into that record store, and her listening to that song. Oh gosh, I forgot who did this. Oh, Velvet Underground. It was a Velvet Underground song she was listening to, right? That moment though will stay with me, by where she is listening to the record, and the spaghettify stuff taking place all around her though, and you just see the guy running, the store owner running, and he turns. I just see all the surroundings around her just sort of spaghettify around her though, right? Yeah, and slow down as well too. Like those that particular sequence, especially with the song playing in the background though, that will stay with me for a long time, right? And in particular, that's just closing things up here. Yeah, again, just what Loki did with taking those branches and just putting them together. Just that shot of the tree, though, and just the green aura around it. Absolutely love. Him creating that sort of throne and sitting down and pretty much just wrapping all these branches together if they're vines. The costume materializing, though, I absolutely loved, though. That was amazing to me, right? And then again, just as I said earlier, just that final shot of him and him kind of realizing, yeah, this is my fate to be alone for the rest of my life. But if I don't do this, the will like existence comes to an end, right? So, I guess before we get to our final thoughts or rating, Ricardo, you've seen what that moment could, suggest. You were comparing it to, I think, a Secret Wars or some comic book that you had mentioned before, because it was
Right.
something that I didn't know about, but, you could kind of explain to me what you think will happen going forward. Because for me, I think
No,
that the story kind of stops there, but, there is the potential that we could go further. It's just, I don't know where it'll go. You have an idea, so you could share with us where you think the story will go
well,
from there.
there is someone called Avenger Prime.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and Avenger Prime is relevant. So there's a little piece of news that Tom Hiddleston saying not playing Loki anymore, quote unquote. What he's going to be playing is Avenger Prime going time. Loki, Avenger Prime is the possible, advanced version of this. So we'll see what's going on in terms of our multiversal Avengers and, all of that going forward. So that's what I feel they might be doing in that version of he's going to be like an avatar of this God version kind of thing at the ending. That's what I feel it is. That's all I'll say. I don't know. Speculation.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
We'll see.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do love, just in general, just we're gonna wrap up now, right? Yeah, I just do love how the ending. I mean, yes, it's a fitting conclusion. Probably one of the most fitting conclusions I've seen in a TV series in a long while, right? Especially when you see how his story arc began from since Avengers to now, right? But I do love how it just opens the door in terms of what could happen next, though. Like, what's gonna happen next to Loki? Is he really gonna stay there for the rest of his life, or are there gonna be variants that will show up in other films? Who knows, though. And I'll just get to my final thoughts here one time, right? And I'll actually just say this right out the bat, though. Like, as far as his character arc goes, I found this one to be way more compelling, ironically enough, than Thor's, though. And look at that, right? Like,
Right.
he have a much more compelling character arc that Thor did. Like, for me, I was, even though Thor Love and Thunder kind of missed the mark, kind of missed the mark in general. I thought where it ended with him becoming a father was pretty interesting, right? Seeing
Right.
that he lost so much family members and friends throughout, his story arc, is his character arc from since Thor, right? And all that kind of stuff, right? But where Loki's arc ended, though, right? And especially, well, just thinking about the journey that he went through, right? Whether it's Thor 2, sorry, Avengers, Thor 2, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, where it ends, though, boy, it's just so fascinating, but it's really one of those things that you just have to kind of think back, like, wow, like, look at the progression, though. Look at where this character ended up, right? From point E to,
Right.
like, Z or whatever it is, right? And yeah, just in general, though, just to wrap things up, yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed the season, though. It really surprised me. 'Cause I just thought it was good. Like, as much as I loved the first season, I thought that this one, as it started off, was just going to be, oh, well, it's like the same old same, but, it's a threat, and I hope that the threat is worth it, right? And yeah, when you see how real the threat is, right? Especially in, like, the fourth episode, especially in that fourth episode, but how it ends, it's like, wow, but, like, there's no hope, right? But then that episode 5 come, twist everything around, and then you have episode 6 that kind of end things off beautifully, in my opinion, right? Like Tracy says, it's very melancholy in a sense, though. And again, it makes sense because, yeah, you're touching on the apocalypse, you're talking about existential stuff, so it kind of has that kind of tone to it as well, right? But it's still fun, it has its fun moments, it has its action-packed moments and whatnot, right? But at the end of the day, I just love that this show was its own thing. It stuck to its guns. It's like, yes, we're gonna take this villain that you love, and yeah, at the end of the day, we're gonna make you kind of love him and sympathize with him, right? And kind of feel sorry for him ultimately at the end of the day, right? So yeah, I absolutely enjoyed the season here. For me, rating wise, I'm gonna give this a strong 4 to a very light 4.5 out of 5, man. I again, it's just, this episode is just about hits, boy. Unfortunately, I wish I could say the same about the show we're gonna talk about next, but Yeah, but yeah, boy,
Yeah.
this is a hit for me. I could definitely see this in my best of
Wow.
for the year.
Yep.
Again, just what they do with the character was just so bold, and this it was ballsy, but it totally worked, man. Right, and I'll close with this. Right, I honestly think that this is the end of the Loki series because again, just given how yeah, just how the MCU output, well, TV output have just basically been miniseries, right? I'm not saying that we can't have season two of certain shows, right? Like say Miss Marvel, for example, right? But where this ends, like, yeah, I think this could be the end of the series itself, but not the end of Loki, right? And of course, this is a shame that they didn't do this, but I guess is a thing that they always do with the movies. Yeah, they could end with Loki will return, but I like that it just sort of just
Right.
ends, right? So yeah, we so I would say yeah, I am curious to see what they do with the character going forward. But yeah, Tom Hiddleston he crushed it from day one. Ever since he was introduced in Thor, but just seeing where his character developed all through the years was really, really amazing, right? So, yeah, don't write off Marvel just yet. I know people like to talk about the quality dipping and stuff over the years, but this show here in particular is a pure example that, yeah, when they really put their heads down, but they could come with a great story. Okay? They could come with great ways to take, great ways in terms of taking the characters and developing them in ways that we didn't expect, right? And last thing, and then I'm going to shut up is just touching on what Tracy said about ranking these MCU shows, right? For me, WandaVision is still on top, right? But second place for me was Falcon and Winter Soldier, and third was Loki. Thanks to this second season here, Loki is number two for me, right? And I feel like if I just think about it more, it could be a number one. But for me, WandaVision is still on top there, because that show just connect with me in a way that I didn't expect, right? But with Loki, way, especially with the character development, yeah, I could see myself bumping this up to number one in the near future, man. And yeah, that's all I have to say, man. So yeah, Ricardo, your final thoughts and rating.
Yeah, I absolutely loved this. I didn't think it would have been as good as it was. It's again, it felt so grand and weighty and mythical and just great editing and everything just come together and come full circle for this Loki character, and they make it just so work so well in that general conceit
Mm.
of the narrative. And I can't be mad at any of that. Rating I'll probably give it like a 9 out of 10. It's pretty high for me. Overall as a series, this season is probably like a 9.5 out of 10. But it's just absolutely brilliant in terms of like how it comes together, what they did with it, and yeah, Marvel still have it for the most part. It's just they just had to put stuff together and collage stuff in a proper way, and they make it work for what it was, and I can't be mad at any of this. So yeah, I loved it.
Right, Tracy, your final thoughts and rating.
Well, I mean, I've already placed it above WandaVision, which is a whole thing for me. So I'm genuinely going to just give this a 5 out of 5. Quality, sound, music. You know what? Even like the set design, I know they
Yes,
would have had like a
I
lot
didn't
of
even
green
mention
screen
set
and that
design,
kind of
but
stuff.
I love the set design for this. Sorry for butting, but yeah, love the set design for the
No,
show, right? Yeah.
it really feels like it was a little bit more tactile. I will tell you this: it has absolutely nothing to do with Loki, but I will tell you this: my bottom two still remains What If and Secret. What was it? Secret Invasion. In terms of where things stand right now, Wanda has something has finally come out that dethrones Wanda. So I'm going to give it a sweet 5 out of 5. I will also just throw this out just for random. Um, I know. I think it was maybe that book that came out, not the Variety article, but I think the book they were talking about when they started talking about the fact that Marvel doesn't have showrunners and they need to fix that and all that kind of thing. They're talking about doing less limited series shows and more actual shows with more seasons and stuff. So maybe moving forward, we might end up getting like a Hawkeye, Kate Bishop season 2. We might get a longer span with Echo. If Daredevil really does see the light of day, it will be that
Right.
18 to 20 something episode TV kind of vibe. So it leaves the door open to, Loki being a Nick Fury, showing up in everybody and being like, you need to do this because this will happen.
Right.
And
Right.
maybe, go and bring in Nathaniel Richards and all kind of mad things. So
Right.
I wait to see if he comes back and in what form.
So yeah, man. Loki actually had the better character arc compared to Thor, boy. I mean, look at that, right? Look at that. So yeah, man. You know, Loki, you are an OG. Tom Hiddleston, thank you so much for the years that you've put into this. Yeah, I just hope that you just have a solid career outside of the MCU, man. But yeah, you will and forever will be Loki in our eyes, man. For real.